There'll be very little introduction to this video. There's only one topic that is dominating the headlines right now within the world of football. You guys know about it. This title right here should explain it all. So let's get straight into it, shall we? Because there's a lot of avenues to go down and explore. There's a lot to get into and talk about. There's a lot to this story. A lot of different elements and different things all come together to create this one topic. A lot to discuss and a hell of a lot of frustration to vent out into this, because this is incredibly frustrating, incredibly annoying, and incredibly disgraceful from the people that are involved within this. It's the news that has been said to have been in the making for many years. The official announcement of a European Super League, the formation of a European Super League, has been made official. The announcement was made yesterday, last night, whatever you want to call it, and it is set to make a giant impact on the game as we know it. A league which was united. It's an announcement which has united fans. It is united fans in a way I don't think I've ever seen before, even more so than this pay-per-view model that was introduced by the Premier League at the beginning of the season. This has united fans even more, but is yet set to divide football from within. Yesterday afternoon, rumblings began within the news that as reports began emerging that the announcement of a Super League, a European Super League's formation, would be made public and official within a matter of hours. The announcement, or the said to be announcement, completely overshadowed the entirety of Sunday's football that was taking place at that time, and was opportune in the sense that it was set to also overshadow UEFA's own announcement of outlining plans for a slightly more revamped Champions League format going forward. Later that night, the announcement was made that Liverpool, Manchester United, Manchester City, Chelsea, Arsenal, Tottenham, bizarrely, AC Milan, Atletico Madrid, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Inter Milan, and Juventus will all be breaking away from their own leagues to create and form this European Super League idea. It's also worth pointing out that both the French League and the Bundesliga have refused to participate, or at the time of recording so far, have refused to participate, and they should be applauded, respected, and recognised for a great, or a seemingly great decision there, and taking a stand in the process. Fair play to them, but for the teams I mentioned, no one is with you on this, it seems. In a rather bizarre and surprising turn of events, the main motivation and driving force behind this project is money. Didn't need a drum roll, because it was fairly evident that money was the main incentive behind this formation. This league idea is being pumped and inflated with a whole lot of dollar, a whole lot of money. Money within the billions mark. Money that will make millionaires look like peasants, it seems. And participating teams are set to gain what is being quoted as staggering sums of money. In fact, I think we can go to the founders of this league and actually get their thoughts on why they actually decided to form this European Super League in the first place.
We've got to have money.
But no, in all seriousness, given what the whole world has been going through this past year and a half or so, the whole COVID pandemic, with all lockdowns and everybody taking a financial hit in some form or another, everything that goes along with that, this announcement is very opportune. It's very opportune in terms of what's going on in the world. It's very opportune in terms of what's going on with football, the whole coming to the end of the season, UEFA trying to revamp their own Champions League. It's all very much opportune, but it all reeks. It reeks of absolute selfishness and absolute greed from the majority of Europe's top teams, from the top leagues that obviously have what we would consider the best football. Prior to the official announcement, the rumblings continue within the media, and UEFA put out a statement. UEFA basically said that UEFA, the English Football Association, the Premier League, the Royal Spanish Football Federation, and La Liga, and the Italian Football Federation, and Serie A have learned that a few English, Spanish, and Italian clubs may be planning to announce their creation of a closed so-called Super League. If this were to happen, we wish to reiterate that we, UEFA, and the associations that I mentioned, but also FIFA and all our member associations will remain united in our efforts to stop this cynical project, a project that is founded on the self-interest of a few clubs at a time when society needs solidarity more than ever. Basically, England, Spain, and Italy have top tier sides that are going to be introduced and inducted into this European Super League, and they're being called out by UEFA and their own league federations for their own selfish interests, and UEFA have reaffirmed their united stance on this issue. The UEFA went on to say that, as previously announced by FIFA and the 6 federations, the clubs concerned will be banned from playing in any other competition at domestic, European, or world level, and their players could be denied the opportunity to represent their national teams. This part of the statement is absolutely huge. This has an impact on everything. Everything about football, this has an impact on. This part of the statement alone. First off, the top tier teams will break away from their national league and form their own Super League, meaning they will have a knock-on effect on everything on this footballing pyramid of every nation's leagues. With that, it will have a knock-on effect of everything that will impact the rest of football in a negative manner, whether it's from a financial point of view or from a more romantic fan side point of view. You're never going to get another Bournemouth again, another Bournemouth story of going from obscurity to the Premier League. Same with Southampton. You're never going to get a team like that going from almost the brink of football extinction to the Premier League. You're never going to get a Leicester story where the outsiders, what was it, 5,000 to 1 or something? The outsiders of the Premier League just went and beat the odds that season. They just absolutely destroyed everything that you've come to expect about the football. The romance of anybody can win it. Leicester destroyed it that season. You're never really going to get that story ever again. You're never going to get that. You're likely to never get the non-league players' stories either. You're never going to get a guy like Jamie Vardy again going from grassroots level to superstardom and Premier League winner. You're never going to get that again. Furthermore, the statement also goes on to threaten the players of those players that are part of teams within the Super League that they cannot go on and play for their national side anymore. This will possibly have an effect on both sides of the fence here, because if you're a team in the Super League that has a player that wants to play for their national side still, that may increase their motive and may force them to want to leave that particular club in order to continue to represent their country. Or on the other side of the fence, of course, if you see a player like, let's say, a Jack Grealish playing for Aston Villa, for example, but he wants to continue to try and represent himself for England, he may not want to then join a Man United, a Man City, a Liverpool, so on and so forth, because then obviously that takes away his right, and that takes away that he will never be able to play for England. So it could work both sides. Of course, there could be players that are against this whole movement in the first place, and if they want to leave that club, then I guess fair play to them, and I respect them for taking a stand. But we'll have to wait and see, obviously, how this particular area of this goes. But the bottom line here is that these are not football clubs anymore. These are businesses. And if it's only just become a realization to you that this is what it is, then you needed to have been woken up for some time now, because these are not football clubs. They haven't been for a while. These are just businesses, and that shouldn't be the case, of course, but it just is what it is. People have been saying for a long time that the game has gone because of the inclusion to the game of things like VAR, like stupid and grey area rules, like the constant rising and inflation of money being pumped into the game, and along with that, other forms of technology influencing the game in one way or another. And this formation of the European Super League may just hit the final nail in that particular coffin. And from what I've seen, there's pretty much no fan or supporter that is in favour of the creation of this Super League, and rightfully so. This doesn't appear to benefit the fans in the slightest, and even if it does, it may only be for the short term rather than the long term. You know, for it to happen, you're having to throw away everything that's been built up over many years of football. The structure of leagues across Europe, from the professional levels right down to grassroots, semi-pro, Sunday league, leagues like that, will all have to change and will all have to shift in some way, and probably not for the better. And not only that, but you'll have history that is tainted by the memories and values of what their clubs used to be before, you know, money became a dominant factor in the game. And it's clear that the people now in charge of those clubs have lost sight of everything that matters and the importance of fans and everything that goes about it. And you'd have to say that with this, going through this particular year that we're having with no fans in stadiums whatsoever, you'd have probably thought that having played just over a year's worth of games and football without fans in stadiums, it would have highlighted one thing, one key thing for every football club: that fans are the heart, soul, lifeblood of this. And I don't see how this benefits them. I just don't. I will say that you can't argue with the fact that football does need to change in some aspects. Football has needed to change in some aspects for years now. You can look at organisations and associations like the Premier League, like UEFA. This past year alone has proven that there is enough evidence in what they have done to suggest that you can make arguments and cases for why changes to them in particular should be made. Changes to the infrastructure, changes to the competitions that obviously they run, so on and so forth. But to completely jump ship and lose sight of everything that's important to the game is a complete joke. But then again, are we surprised? Are we surprised that something like this is happening? Nobody in this can take the moral high ground. Nobody who is associated with this can take the moral high ground. Everybody in this, whether it's organisations, clubs, TV networks, are all as bad as each other. If you look back, this has possibly been a long time in the making. The issues with the Premier League in particular have seemingly caused these plans to be put into action because it's been seen as a power struggle between the Premier League and the owners of the unofficial, but what we can see as being the now big six clubs of England's top tier division. We're going to use the Premier League as the initial case study here. It boils down to money. It boils down to money, where they believe the Premier League's incompetence at running the league is stopping them from receiving even more money. Not sure why anyone should be surprised by this. Money is now arguably the biggest factor in the game anyway to these people. But the Premier League let them in the first place. The Premier League let the billionaires in, and then they act surprised when the billionaires turn on them. The billionaires turned on them and they act all surprised about it. Things need to change. We need to somehow put the majority of the power back in the hands of the fans and get rid of this exclusive elitism mentality that greedy owners have installed into clubs, because for whatever reason Teams have been categorized as either elite or normal. There's two categories. You're either elite and you go into the Super League. You're either normal and you stay where you are. That is basically what has been categorized here. Teams like AC Milan and Arsenal, arguably sleeping giants of football, they are to be in this. I have to question, what exactly have they got? What exactly qualifies them to be in this Super League in the first place when they have not done anything for the past 10 to 15 years in Champions League or even in the National League? And Tottenham, don't even get me started on Tottenham. At least I can attempt to make a case for AC Milan and Arsenal. I can't make a case for Spurs. I am literally clutching at straws to find an argument for Tottenham as to why they are here. Why? And you know another part of this that gets me, it's this format kind of system that they've got going on. It's the lack of competition aspect that gets me. Whilst in the short term, it may look good. You're telling me I can watch Liverpool versus Juventus this week? Great! You're telling me that afterwards I can go on and watch Manchester United versus Real Madrid? Wow! You're telling me that then afterwards I can then go and see Chelsea versus Barcelona? And then for the rest of the season I can watch different combinations of these types of games along with all the other great teams that are going to be in this. That's fantastic, right? Well, for the short term, maybe. For the long term, definitely not. Because, yeah, these are all great matches. They are very exciting. They are mouth-watering. They are truly incredible. They are like the best of the best, which is why the Super League was created, right? But go a year down the line. Go 2 years down the line. Are you telling me that you won't be bored of seeing the same teams constantly go head-to-head against each other with no threat of relegation, no consequences, just Liverpool versus Real Madrid, Liverpool versus Barcelona, Manchester United versus Inter Milan, Manchester United versus Juventus, Manchester City versus Atletico, over and over and over again for years and years and years. Because that's what it's going to be like. It's going to become boring. It's going to lose the interest. It's going to become stale. That's it. It will be good for the short term. It looks so great in the short term, but in the long term, it will lose its speciality. It will lose the spectacle that it is. Because the thing that makes competitions like the Champions League, and you can even throw the World Cup into that bracket as well, the things that make them competitions so exciting to watch is because it's a spectacle. It's amazing. It feels special. But go down the line at another 2 or 3 years. Those games become boring, stale, overplayed. And then you're just left with it being just another game. And as a Liverpool fan, honestly, unless there's some sort of U-turn, unless there's some sort of good thing that I'm not seeing right now that is going to be put back into the game and be given back to the rest of football that is still remaining elsewhere, separated from this alleged elite, I think, honestly, I'll find it difficult to support them. I know a lot of fans of Man United, Arsenal, Chelsea. I know that I've been doing my research a little bit on this, and I've been listening to a lot of different opinions, and I know that some of them fans also feel the same way. But I don't think I'll be able to support them. I genuinely don't. I find it difficult to. They've turned their back on everything that this club prides itself on. This club that prides itself on "you'll never walk alone" should know the importance of fans from historical nights and events of the club's past alone. But has decided to turn their back on all that. Decided to turn their back on all of that for monetary gain. And I'm absolutely disgusted by this decision. It's a joke. It's completely ridiculous. And honestly, listening to other fans voice similar opinions, like I said, similar to what I voiced here, similar to everything that I've said, honestly, has been a good thing to come out of all of this. Because it shows that fans and supporters are unifying against this. And if we could do something, to combat this, maybe we have the power to change something about it. Not watching it for a start, it might be difficult. It will be difficult. But not watching it for a start, similar to how we did the pay-per-view model. The Premier League tried to implement a pay-per-view model. We decided to give the money that we were going to pay for football to charities instead and turn something negative into a positive. We didn't watch the football, and what did they do? They gave us the football back for free. Or as free as it can get. They still put it on different, obviously, networks that they've got going on and stuff like that. Sky can't take the moral high ground in this, definitely not. But maybe that's another video for another day. They still did it. They still took off the pay-per-view model. Maybe we can do something similar here. It's going to take a lot more, but we could definitely do it. And guys, I know this was a long video, but these are just the thoughts, comments and opinions of this guy. I really appreciate you sticking around for this one because I feel like there's a lot to get out there. And when I was like putting this video together, there was a lot of avenues I wanted to kind of explore. Maybe I might make a second video just to sort of clear up a few things. Maybe talk about more the format maybe, or clear up some of the points that I made in this. I don't know. But I'd love to know your feedback on this. I would love to know what your thoughts, comments, opinions, and whatever, and so on and so forth are on this particular issue. I'd love to, obviously I'm interested in what everybody says, but I'd actually like to know, is there anybody out there that thinks that this may be a good idea? Because it certainly isn't out of the realms of possibility that this may actually turn out to be a good thing, but I just don't, in the plans that they've laid out and in everything that I've seen, I just don't see it, whether it's the short term or the long term. I just don't see it. So I'm interested to see if anyone has actually come up with some sort of theory as to why this may actually be a good idea. But regardless, I'd love to know everybody and all of your thoughts, comments, opinions down below in the comment section. I'm sure they'll all make for interesting reading. Otherwise, hit that like button on the way if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new. Both things will always and forever be greatly appreciated. And once again, thank you all for sticking around for this. This is obviously a horrible, horrible time for football right now. And, you know, I think if we can try and, you know, turn this into some sort of positive and do something, I think it may all come good in the end. But obviously, that will take some time. Anyway, I'm just rambling now. I'll let you get back on. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video, and I will see you and speak to you all again soon in another video.